Hi everyone, welcome to the Pur'N'Kleen podcast episode number 9. My name is Rommel and today we're going to talk about how to adjust your process to supply and demand. Hey everybody, Rommel here. This episode is dedicated to Jay Joskell from YouTube, who asked me to do a video on the mining process and how to adjust the process based on supply and demand for a certain mineral. He was talking about episode number 4, managing processes. So if you haven't watched that, please go ahead and watch it first, as it will provide more context on this episode. Now, Joskell, unfortunately, as of May 2016, we still don't know much about the specifics about how CIG will implement mining. And what I mean by that, I don't mean like will mining be in the game or not. I mean, which minerals will you be able to mine, how the node and economic systems will work specifically for mining. We have a very rough plan about these things, but without this information, I really cannot make an episode discussing this matter. Because, for example, if I start talking about a certain mineral, I would inevitably end up in speculation territory, and I'm specifically trying to avoid that in this podcast. So instead, we will talk broadly about supply and demand and how to adjust our prices based on what we're going to call market equilibrium. Suppose you have the mining organization discussed in episode 8. Here is an outline of its supply chain, which, if you want detail, refer to that episode. As we discussed in that episode, at the beginning of the process, you may have raw aluminum, raw tungsten, raw copper, and raw uranium. And at the end of the process, you will have refined aluminum, tungsten, copper, and uranium products that you're ready to sell in the market. So for simplicity, let's just consider one of them, the aluminum market. On your first day, you produce 1,000 tons of refined aluminum and you try to sell it for 1,000 UEC per ton, but few people buy it. So at the end of your gaming session, you are left with a surplus of aluminum which you now have to get rid of. On day 2, you lower your price to 200 UEC per ton, quickly selling out your surplus. For most products, as their price increases, the supply increases, but the demand decreases. If the sellers raise their price too high, where the demand is less than what they have to offer, they will have a surplus that will force them to lower their price until they can sell their entire supply. On the other hand, if you set the aluminum price too low, then you will sell your entire supply before you can satisfy the demands of the market, thereby causing a shortage of buyers and lesser profit or greater losses for the seller. Some people who wanted to buy the product will just be unable to obtain it. And, they may go about obtaining it a different way, i.e. crime. And yes, I know about the 90% NPC thing, just bear with me. Supply increases with prices because the suppliers earn greater profits and can easily cover their costs. For example, if the aluminum price increases to 2,000 UEC per ton, you will see more people mining for aluminum and you will most likely ramp up your own production for aluminum. Conversely, demand increases with lower prices because the products become more affordable and the buyers get more value for their money. If aluminum is cheap, a manufacturing org will most definitely snatch it up at that price for use later when they know that the prices will bounce back up. Because people will only buy your aluminum if their benefit will be at least equal or more to the cost of aluminum, and because Star Citizen players can choose from all kinds of activities and minerals in the verse, a lower aluminum price will have a benefit worth the cost for more people, thus increasing demand. This is why when demand and supply quantities are plotted according to price, the supply curve always moves up with price, while the demand curve always moves down with price. When the amount demanded is equal to the amount supplied, this is the magical equilibrium. We know this as the market equilibrium, also known as the supply-demand equilibrium, where the quantity is equal to the equilibrium quantity, and the price is equal to the equilibrium price. Furthermore, if prices are different from the equilibrium price, then the law of supply and demand states that the price of any product will adjust until the supply equals the demand. Pretty basic economics from high school. In Star Citizen, you can always try and fly to a different market in a different system with different prices, right? But it is fair to assume that the economic node system in Star Citizen will be complex enough that you won't be able to do so profitably unless you can pack, say, a Redeemer or a whole E full of minerals. The reason this is fair to assume is because we already know at a very rough level how the Star Citizen economy will work. And if you want more details on this, just Google the Star Citizen economy, the article from July 2013. So you can assume that this is true because if it is profitable to make 2 jump points to sell your goods, you can assume that most players will do so, right? Why would they sell in the lower market? So everybody will do so, thus driving the price down until it reaches the market equilibrium in that system. A Redeemer or a whole E, on the other hand, might benefit from economies of scale, but it will pay for it in time since those ships will be very slow and require large crews. So it's not for everyone, but I can see that happening. Star Citizen will be a highly competitive market. We know that CIG will enforce a competitive market and protect against market manipulation by ensuring that 90% of the market players are NPC driven. The implication here is that us humans, or us players, must set prices so that we can sell what we have, or in our example, the aluminum that we mined. You will not be able to hoard all the aluminum in the market, force a shortage of aluminum, and then sell it at a super high price. Those are the kind of shenanigans that happened in EVE Online. Unfortunately, due to the 90% rule, 90% NPC-driven market, that won't happen in Star Citizen. Hence, prices in Star Citizen will have a rationing function in that those sellers who are willing to sell at the equilibrium price will be able to sell all of their product, while buyers who are willing to pay the equilibrium price will be able to buy all that they want. The sellers who are unable to or unwilling to sell their product for the equilibrium price will simply stop producing it. You may stop producing aluminum if you are just not satisfied with the price in the market. Likewise, only the buyers who are willing to pay the equilibrium price will get the product. Those who do not desire the product as much or are unwilling to pay, they will just not get your aluminum. This is how the resources of an economy are allocated to produce the most desirable products, and this is what we call the rationing function. How market equilibrium changes in response to non-price changes in supply and demand. Although prices change both supply and demand quantities, demand and supply determinants other than prices can also change either demand or supply, in which case they will also change the market equilibrium. If only prices change, then the law of supply and demand will cause both quantity and price to revert back to the equilibrium. However, if other determinants cause changes in either demand or supply, then the market equilibrium also changes because either the demand curve or the supply curve or both shift. So let's talk about that. What are some supply determinants other than price in Star Citizen? Well, other than price, You can include the prices of the factors of production, how much they will charge you at a refinery, how much it costs to acquire ships, etc. Everything used to create the product. You can include technology invented by the CIG via content patches, or like alien artifact discoveries that give you a boost or make things slower. Changes to fees and other UEC money sinks by CIG, number of sellers, price expectations, and the price of other related goods. If supply determinants increase supply while the demand remains constant, then the equilibrium price will decline because it must adjust to the new higher equilibrium quantity, which can only be sold at lower prices. Supply determinants that decrease supplies will cause the equilibrium price to rise, since it will take fewer buyers to buy the product at the higher price, and only those who are willing to pay the higher price will buy it. So then what are demand determinants? Demand determinants other than the product price include player preference, because a gaming mechanic may be more fun than other, income, prices of substitutes and complements, and the number of buyers. If the supply remains constant, but non-price demand determinants increase demand, then the equilibrium price will rise since the equilibrium quantity will also increase, and the suppliers will only supply more product at a higher price. Likewise, if demand decreases because of factors other than price, then the equilibrium price will decline, since suppliers will only be able to sell the new lower equilibrium quantity of the product. Now, if Star Citizen developers push changes to the game that impact both supply and demand, then how the market equilibrium will change depends on how much the supply changes compared to the demand changes. Say, for example, that CIG releases a patch that unveils Xi'an sensor technology that allows you to discover aluminum more easily, thus increasing supply because it's easier to find the aluminum, and lowering the price because there's more aluminum in the market. But they also rebalance the amount of UEC that you can earn from missions in the same patch. So players are earning more UEC per gaming session by doing these missions, thus they have more spending power, thus increasing demand for aluminum because they can afford more, and also this should increase the price for aluminum because more people want it. Since you have two conflicting changes, right? One change increases the price of aluminum and one change decreases the price of aluminum. Which way will it go? Here the answer is, it depends. If the changes in supply from the Xi'an technology is greater than the change in demand from more spending power from individual players, then the equilibrium price will overall go down. But if the change in demand is greater than the change in supply, then the market equilibrium will make the price go overall up. That's all I have for adjusting to supply and demand in Star Citizen. Thanks again to Jay Joskell for the inspiration. I know it's not exactly what you asked, but I hope this satisfies your curiosity. If you have any questions or would like to see a topic addressed in the podcast, please leave a comment and I'll do my best to cover it. The Pur'N'Kleen podcast is a free Star Citizen podcast aimed at tackling the business side of the verse. It is available every Monday, but you can also get it in written format by signing up for the newsletter in the show notes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Last but not least, if you are looking for a business-oriented organization, please do check us out at pur'n'kleen.com.